The morning began with an unusual silence. No sound of flapping wings. No cheerful clucks echoing from the yard. Only the whisper of the wind brushing past the bamboo fence. Huyen was the first to notice it. She stepped outside with a basket in hand, ready to collect the eggs as she did every dawn. But as she reached the small coop, her heart froze. The ground was still. The chickens, the ones she had raised with her own hands, the ones that Maya loved to feed, were lying motionless on the damp earth. Dee, her voice trembled, breaking the quiet morning. Dee ran out from the kitchen, his hands still dusted with rice flour. His eyes widened as he saw the scene, lifeless feathers scattered, the faint, bitter smell of something chemical in the air. He knelt down beside the coop, touched the soil, and instantly recognized the sharp scent. Poison. He murmured. His voice was steady, but his hands shook. Maya peered behind them, still rubbing her sleepy eyes. "Mom, why are the chickens sleeping outside?" she asked softly. Huyen turned, her lips quivering. She forced a smile, trying to shield Maya from the truth. "They're resting, sweetheart." But the child's eyes caught something. The limp wing of her favorite hen, the one she had named Flower. Maya dropped the small basket she was holding. "No, Flower, wake up." She ran toward the coop, tears streaming down her cheeks as she knelt beside the bird. Dee quickly lifted her into his arms, holding her tightly as she cried against his shoulder. Huyen could barely breathe. Every corner of the yard seemed to echo with the memory of their laughter, now replaced by the sound of Maya's sobs and the heavy silence of loss. Dee's jaw tightened. "Someone did this, Huyen," he said quietly. "This wasn't an accident." Her eyes widened. But who would do such a thing? Dee didn't answer. He only looked toward the old fence where the soil was freshly disturbed, where boot prints led out toward the field. The morning sun rose slowly over the hills, but the warmth it brought couldn't reach their hearts. What had once been a peaceful home now felt shadowed, as if something dark had crept in quietly during the night. Huyen stood still beside the coop, her hands clasped tightly together, whispering a small prayer for the animals that had once filled their mornings with life. And though she said nothing aloud, fear flickered behind her eyes, a fear that this was only the beginning. Dee looked around once more, his gaze hardening. Whoever had done this didn't just want to hurt their chickens. They wanted to send a message. And Dee knew, deep down, that something far more dangerous might be coming. The sun had risen higher now, casting light across the small yard. But even under daylight, the air still felt heavy. The smell of poison lingered faintly in the soil, a cruel reminder of the act that had shattered their peace. Dee fetched a shovel and began to bury the chickens behind the garden, one by one. Each shovelful of dirt felt like a weight pressing against his chest. Huyen stood beside him, silently weeping, her fingers gripping the edge of her apron. Maya clung to her leg, still confused and heartbroken. When the last small mound of soil was covered, Dee straightened up. His hands were trembling, not from exhaustion, but from quiet anger. He wiped his brow, his eyes scanning the edge of the fence. Once again, that's when he noticed it. Faint footprints in the soft dirt, half hidden by fallen leaves. He crouched down, studying them. The boots were large, heavier than any of the neighbors would wear. The prints led out toward the path behind the hill, the same road that connected to the old market and the distant village. "Someone came here last night," Dee said, his voice low. "And they knew exactly what they were doing." Huyen's heart skipped a beat. "But why, Dee? Who could hate us enough to do this?" Dee didn't answer right away. He walked toward the fence, running his hand over the wood. And then he found it. A small glass bottle, hidden under the grass, the inside coated with a faint white residue. He picked it up carefully with a cloth. This, he said grimly, wasn't random. Someone wanted to hurt us. A sudden noise startled them. The creak of a bicycle. Old Mr. Two, their neighbor, was arriving. His brow furrowed as he saw the freshly dug earth and the dark look on Dee's face. "What happened, son?" the old man asked, his voice trembling slightly. "They were poisoned," Dee replied simply. Two's expression darkened. He looked around the yard, then leaned closer to Dee. "A few nights ago, I saw two strangers passing through the path behind your house. One of them asked about you, where you live, who you're with." Huyen froze. "Did they say why?" "No," said, "but they didn't look like kind men. I didn't like the way they smiled." Dee's hands clenched. He exchanged a glance with Huyen, one filled with both fear and understanding. Could it be connected to the people from Tuvi's past? Or perhaps to the man who once tried to buy their land, the one who didn't take rejection well? Huyen stepped closer to Dee, her voice trembling. "Dee, what if they come back?" He took her hand gently, squeezing it. "Then they'll find me waiting." The determination in his eyes was fierce, but behind it flickered a deeper pain. The kind that comes from a man who has already lost too much and refuses to lose again. That night, Dee repaired the broken part of the fence, tied the dog near the coop, and sat on the porch long. After the moon had risen, the house was silent except for the rustle of leaves and the soft breathing of Huyen and Maya inside. But Dee didn't sleep. His eyes stayed fixed on the shadows beyond the fence, watching, waiting, listening for any sound. Somewhere in the dark, he felt it, that quiet presence again, the sense of being watched. And as the wind moved through the trees, Dee whispered into the night, his voice firm but calm. "You can take the animals. You can try to break our peace, but you won't take our home." The next few days passed with a heavy silence. The laughter that once filled the little yard had faded, replaced by unease that even the morning sunlight couldn't chase away. Huyen tried to keep things normal for Maya's sake, cooking, washing, tending the garden. But inside, she felt a growing chill that wouldn't leave her. At night, the house seemed to breathe differently. Every creak of the wooden wall, every rustle of leaves outside made her flinch. Sometimes, she woke up to the sound of baby growling softly in the dark, staring toward the fence. Each time, Dee would quietly get up, take the flashlight, and walk outside to check. Nothing, no one, only the sound of the river whispering in the distance. But Huyen knew something wasn't right. One evening, as she was washing dishes by the river, she noticed a strange mark carved into one of the bamboo posts near the waterline. A circle, with two slashes through it. It wasn't there before. Her hands trembled as she reached out to touch it, feeling the rough edges of a knife's cut. "Dee," she called, her voice echoing down the bank. He came running, wiping his hands on a towel. "What's wrong?" She pointed to the mark. "Someone's been here again." Dee's face hardened as he looked at it. "It's a warning," he muttered. Maya, who had been playing nearby, froze when she saw her parents' expressions. "Mom, is something wrong?" Huyen forced a smile. "No, sweetie, it's nothing. Go help Uncle Dee with the firewood, okay?" But that night, after putting Maya to sleep, Huyen sat quietly beside Dee on the porch. The moonlight fell softly across their faces. She leaned her head on his shoulder and whispered, I'm scared, Dee. He didn't speak at first. He just wrapped his arm around her, holding her close. I know, he said softly, but I won't let anything happen to you or Maya. I promise. His words were calm, but inside, his mind was racing. The memory of the poisoned chickens, the footprints, the stranger's Mr. mentioned. It all formed a shadowy picture that he couldn't yet make sense of. Later that night, while Huyen slept, Dee quietly loaded his old rifle. It had been locked away for years, a relic of his past life before he came here. But now, it was necessary. He sat by the window, the rifle across his knees, listening to the sounds of the night. The crickets, the wind, the slow hum of the river. Then he heard it, a faint crunch, someone stepping on dry leaves. Dee's pulse quickened. He moved silently to the door, opening it just a crack. His eyes scanned the yard. Nothing. Then, at the far end of the fence, he saw movement, a shadow slipping through the darkness. Who's there? He called out sharply. No answer. He raised the flashlight. The beam caught the glint of something metallic before the shadow darted away into the trees. Dee ran after it, his heart pounding. But the intruder was fast, gone by the time he reached the back path. Only the sound of footsteps fading down the dirt road. He stood there for a long time, breathing hard, gripping the rifle tight. The air smelled faintly of smoke and wet earth. When he finally returned, Huyen was awake, waiting at the door, her eyes wide with fear. Was someone here? Dee nodded slowly. Yes, but not for long. She covered her mouth, trying not to cry. Dee, what if this isn't over? He looked out into the night again, his jaw tightening. Then we'll be ready. And in that moment, the quiet countryside that once felt like home suddenly became a place of waiting for something dark to return. The next morning, Dee went to see Mr. Tu to ask if anyone suspicious had passed by. The old man hesitated, then said quietly, Last night, I saw a man on a motorbike stop near your house. He looked familiar, tall, scar on his cheek. Dee froze. He knew that description. It was Huyen's ex-husband. He rushed back home, his heart burning. Huyen was feeding Maya when she saw his face. Dee, what's wrong? It's him, Dee said quietly. The man from your past. He's here. Huyen went pale, her hands trembling. No, he can't be. Dee nodded. He's the one who poisoned the chickens. He's trying to scare us. For a long moment, neither spoke. The wind outside carried the scent of river water and fear. Then Dee took her hand firmly. We won't run again, Huyen. Not this time. We have each other now. Tears welled in her eyes as she whispered, I'm not afraid anymore. Not if you're with me. From the doorway, Maya looked at them, not fully understanding, but she felt it. The heaviness, the danger, and the quiet strength in Dee's voice. Outside, a distant motorbike engine roared and then faded into the hills. The shadow had returned, but so had their courage. Dee stepped out into the sunlight, gripping the old rifle in his hand. He looked toward the road and whispered to himself, Let him come. That night, the rain came, heavy, relentless. Dee stayed awake, guarding the door, but no one came. Only thunder and the smell of wet earth filled the air. At dawn, Mr. Tu arrived, soaked and breathless. Dee, the man, he's gone. The police caught him at the bus station. He had poison and tools with him. Dee closed his eyes in relief. Huyen covered her mouth, tears streaming down her cheeks. "It's over," she whispered. He nodded, pulling her into his arms. "Yes, finally over." Maya ran to them, hugging their legs. "Mom, Uncle D, the chickens, can we get new ones?" Dee smiled softly. "Yes, sweetie, we'll build a new coop together." That evening, the three of them stood in the quiet yard, watching the sunset spill gold over the hills. The fear was gone, replaced by peace, fragile but real. Huyen looked at Dee and said gently, "We almost lost everything again, but this time we stayed." Dee squeezed her hand. "Because now we have something worth fighting for, our family." And as the first rooster crowed in the distance, life began again in their small, humble home.